Today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy, really cool vintage style tag that you can use in your art journal or junk journal or other creative project. Also great for scrapbooking and card making. So first we've picked out our pattern paper. I've just used some nice floral paper. Then I've cut it to the size I want it, and I'm really just eyeballing the cut lines for the tag. Not very well, as you can see, they're a bit crooked, but you could just make a tag template and use that for it, and then cut the edges to however big or little you want them to be. Okay, so just make sure that you're happy with the evenness of your tag edges. So just adjust if needed, and then you just need to get either a hole punch or some kind of hole maker that you normally use. Just do just below the top so that we can finish that off at the end. Now I've got this really beautiful embroidered ribbon that I'm using here. You could use some nice vintage lace or a doily trim or whatever you want to use really. And then to get that really cool folded look, you basically just have to do the first couple of folds before you put the foot of the sewing machine down. And then once it's got those first couple, that little first probably centimetre, then it's quite easy just to sort of fold the ribbon or trim up as you go. As you can see here, just do it nice and slowly, don't rush it, and just sort of each step you take with the machine, just keep going with the fold. I usually just double back on it a little bit just so it doesn't come loose. And that's easy as that to get that really funky look. Then just trim off the edges. Now you could just leave it like that if you want. I'm going to go back over it and do a zigzag, so just to give it a little bit more texture and detail on the finished product. Once you've got those initial stitches down to keep the trim in place, it's really easy just to go over a second run with the zigzag stitch, and then I just go back and forth over it a couple of times just to finish it off. Okay, so that's stage one done. Now we're going to decorate the rest of the tag. So I have these doilies here that in my last YouTube video I coloured and dyed. So I thought I might just see how some of those look on this tag, because although I'm going for a vintage style, I really love bright colours. So I think it's fine to do vintage and bright at the same time, definitely. Now this trim that I use, the pink screen printing ink, I think that the main side is actually too strong for this tag with the colours that are in the paper, so I've actually just turned it over, and I really like how that reverse side looks with the other colours. So now I'm just going to stitch those straight onto the tag. You could use a little bit of glue if you wanted to, but it's pretty easy just to get your sewing machine and stitch these guys straight on. So I tend to start from the middle because I feel like if the middle is nice and secure, then the outside ones are easier to stitch. So just do this part quite slowly, take your time, and I try and turn it as I go a little bit, but honestly I've snapped a few needles in my time trying to get that really nice rounded effect. So I just go across the line, then lift my foot up, turn the whole tag, and then go again, because it doesn't matter if it has a really sort of rustic, messy stitching look. It doesn't have to be perfectly rounded. It just adds to the effect of this vintage style tag. So go around that quite a few times just to make sure it's nice and held together, and also because those stitches do give that really nice finish. I've gone around quite a few times. You can go around more or less, just however you choose. And then I've just changed to the zigzag stitch because I want to have a few different stitches for extra effect as well. And just a reminder, if you are changing stitch style mid project, Just make sure your needle is out of the paper, because again, that can be a little hazard for snapping your needle. Okay, now we're just finishing up the stitching part of the tag. Once that's done, just cut it off and we will trim up our excess cotton. And then I just need to finalize the placement of that pink trim that we are going to finish this tag off with. So I was thinking maybe across the top, but I think I just like it down the bottom, just above the other ribbon. But you might decide that you want to put your trims elsewhere on your tag, and you might decide just to stick with the one trim, or you might do a few different ones. That's where the fun part is, just making it really unique and in your style. So I've just done a straight stitch across twice over because it's quite a thick trim. And then I'm just going to, like with my other stitching, do a zigzag just for a bit of extra feature there with that stitching. Okay, so just finishing off that stitching now, and again I do just a little bit of back stitch just to make sure that the threads aren't going to fall off. Obviously once it's stuck down to a page or put in a journal, it's not going to fall off, but I just like to do that. It's just habit from when I'm doing normal sewing. So then just take off your extra threads. You could trim that pink trim so that it's really in line with the tag and it's just straight, but I quite like that little overhang there, so I've just decided to leave it because it just gives it a little bit more of that vintage look. And then I'm just cleaning up the back. Now if you was to stick this tag down, you wouldn't worry about doing anything to the back, but if you're wanting to use it as a tag that actually pulls out, we might need to do something with it. So here I'm just having a little play around with different finishes for the top part of the tag. I was going to use some more of the pink trim, but decided I didn't like it, it was too much. So instead I've just got some of my nice cotton baker's twine. You can get that in a big roll or just smaller pieces. And then I am just doing a simple knot at the top, just your standard tag knot, trimming that down. And then another feature that I love to do on tags or any sort of feature embellishment is get some ink and ink the edges. So not only does that give an aged effect, but it just sort of really finishes it. Now, if you were wanting more of an antique-y look, you would use a dark brown or a black ink, but I want to sort of give it a bit of a vintage look, but also quite vibrant and bright and pop of colour. So I'm using this really bright aqua colour and just go around the edges like I've done there. So I've decided that I'm going to use this tag in one of my junk journals. So I am going to just get some music paper that I will stick to the back of the tag, so that hides the sewing, all the stitches there, and then I can write on the music paper. Now the music paper with all the black lines over it, probably not perfectly ideal for writing, but I can always stick another piece of plain paper or lined journal paper later on. So I'm just using some double-sided tape to stick this down. You could use just a glue stick or, and excuse my double-sided tape, I found that buried in a box that had been in storage for ages, so it's a bit gross on the edges, but it still does the trick. Just the thin, it's the 5mm double-sided tape. I'll just pop a little bit in the middle just to hold it down extra, because if it's going to be used as a functional tag, there's probably going to be a fair bit of pulling in and out of it. So that's just the final step for this one. And then we'll pull that double-sided tape off. Now that it can be, if you haven't used double-sided tape, it can be very tricky to get off. The best way to do it is really push down the edges so that it's nice and connected to the paper, and then try and pull the non-sticky part off from the side rather than from the end. So see how I'm pushing that down a bit? That's sort of the easiest way to do it. Or a lot of people do use a little spiky tool just to hold on to the sticky part so it doesn't come off when you pull the cover back. And then just carefully placing it in the middle with the nice even edges, and then that is done. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel because I'm doing lots more of these tutorial videos, and I'd love for you to give this video a like and even comment and share your creations with me too. Just hashtag Rondell Designs on any of the socials, and you'll see in my description links to my socials as well as my website. Thanks guys.